Today we're going to talk about army abilities a little bit. There's a couple things I wanted to cover real fast, and this all kind of spawned from a recent discussion around a tier list video I made of army abilities, and some disagreements in the YouTube comments where I was completely right all the time and everybody else was wrong. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Also, if you don't like jokes, leave now. Anyway, I wanted to test tier 3 Tzeentch ability because it's been a little underwhelming to me. I also wanted to showcase a point I had about the tier 2 Tzeentch ability, and some surprises at the end. Anyway, we're about to test the tier 2 Tzeentch ability. Why I personally rated Tzeentch in that video F tier is partially this. Their tier 1 ability doesn't work. The mana regen just doesn't do anything. Their tier 2 ability can be defeated by walking. Walking in a straight line. Wow. Some of the splash damage hit him, but it literally just did very, like, what is maximum health anyway? Oh wow, it did 23 damage. Intense. And some people would say, yeah, you can shoot it at armored infantry though, and they're walking in a straight line and it'll hit some of them. Okay, but poking slightly at an infantry unit that's pretty cheap isn't really a big deal. Right. So secondly, we have the big army ability. Now, before this hits the ground, yes, I will acknowledge, it does more damage than I thought it did. In watching lots and lots of replays of Tzeentch players using this ability on things, it's usually very underwhelming and I laugh at it. In this test, it does do a lot of damage, but I will digress and say we have 4 units standing in an unnatural formation, and they don't dodge it despite the very long cast time and how long it's bombarding them. They don't even try to move. This was for test purposes, but I'll acknowledge it did more damage than I thought it did, but in most real games, why I put Tzeentch F tier is because most people just dodge this, or it hits one unit, or it hits one unit and the player's other, like, the Tzeentch player's own unit. Yeah. So for various reasons in multiplayer, I don't think the tier 3 Tzeentch ability is very good, but I was surprised. Next, we wanted to test the Khorne army ability, so I threw a bunch of Peasant Long Spears at, I believe Rinless was helping me test this, so thank you very much to him, because you can't do it very well with AI. But I threw a whole bunch of Peasant Long Spears at Khorne Warriors to charge up the Sword of Khorne. I was going to compare this to the Tzeentch tier 3 army ability, and then I was kind of shocked at how little damage it did to my Celestial Dragon Guard. Thought it would do more than that. Now, it did some. It did fine. I still think it is better than the tier 3 Tzeentch ability, and while we charge up a second round, I will explain why. But also Khorne was very low on that list. I think it casts faster, it's more directed, and it's a smaller area that you guarantee the strike in, so it's easier to not get friendly fire and not rely so much on RNG as the Tzeentch ability. But what I will give the Tzeentch ability credit for is it has better armor piercing, and it's easier to charge up by casting spells, whereas Khorne needs kills, which in most multiplayer environments, you won't get a ton of kills, because your opponent knows that's what you're trying to do, and they won't take an army that does that. But what we found that was surprising to me is, yes, that does good damage, but it didn't do as much as I thought. And if it turns out that the Sword of Khorne thing only has like 30% armor piercing or something like that, and the rest is base, so it did a little less than I thought it would. It's still a great ability, it's just not as great as I thought. Because when I was loading this up, I was like, now we'll show them a good ability, and then it was like, oh, that was kind of limp when it was in between all 3 of these units. So you can only really focus down one, and then you do okay damage, but. So it's a mix of the Tzeentch ability was slightly better than I thought, but still has glaring issues, but the Khorne ability was less good than I thought. So kind of by comparison, that also boosts up the Tzeentch ability. Alright, and here we have the Piece de la Resistance. Took Nurgle. I'm letting a whole bunch of Chaos Warriors beat up my Nurglings. It turns out if you cast spells on your own army, you do charge the Nurgle passive, so that's very interesting. We wanted to test Glorious Rot, because while I was testing things with Rinless, I just decided, I was like, hey man, whenever I use the tier 3 Nurgle ability, it feels like trash. Can we just, since we're testing army abilities, can we test that? And we decided to. So it spreads to up to 5 targets. For some reason, it doesn't spread to this guy. So that's great. So it's very picky about how it spreads, apparently. And remember, this is a tier 3 ability. So this is supposedly the same as Khorne or Tzeentch's ability. Just remember that. And sure, this only spread to 4 out of 5 targets, but oh boy, it could have spread to 1 more target. Wow. And then Rinless said maybe it doesn't have good armor piercing damage. So, see you in a second. Loading screen, loading screen, loading screen, loading screen, dun dun dun, loading screen, loading screen, loading screen. Alright, here we are. Loading screen, cause I fucked up and I went past the thing I had to show. I missed the thing. I missed the thing. I missed the thing. I missed the thing. So we load again. Alright, we're back. Second time's a charm. This time I'm not going to miss it by triple fast forwarding through. Crane gunners take forever to do the damage I need to get my tier 3 Nurgle ability. But we were also just testing how much damage they do. So I guess, whatever. Come on. I'm not going to miss it again, but also come on. Come on. There it is. This time it hits all 5, so this is the max amount of damage it could do. These are Peasant Long Spear with only 15 armor. And that was a tier 5 ability, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Incredible. Just incredible damage. That is just so good. Such a good ability. Such a good use of your funds. Definitely don't just use Curse of the Slug and the healing one. No. Use Rot, Glorious Rot. Super glad it's that excellent of a tier 3 armor ability. Yeah. So in conclusion, the Tzeentch one was slightly better than I thought, but still not great. I would upgrade them from F to like D tier because I think their bottom 2 abilities are pretty bad and their top ability is fine, but not great. Khorne, I'd leave where he is on the tier list, but his tier 3 ability is worse than I thought. And Nurgle, his tier 3 ability is about as bad as I thought, but worse than I ever could have imagined. Human Boy, that didn't... I don't care. I don't care. Anyway, Nurgle, his first 2 abilities are pretty good. Just use those. Don't use his last one. Roar! Subscribe, yes, yes.